Hi, welcome to If I Did It, a show where we analyze and solve pure kerfuffles from MMA. Word me up. Oh, oh.
The worst beginning to a show.
Yeah, ever. I love when I get those plaintive emails or comments like, "I love Eugene, I love Knuckle Up, but 23 minutes for the intro. Come on." You look like Mao, to paraphrase Mao, you're lucky it's not an hour and 23 minutes for the intro.
And and it also
You'd be the worst cam boy of all time. I mean,
No, that's what cam boys are supposed to do.
I know, but I mean, as from the customer's perspective,
Yeah.
you would think you were the greatest cam boy of all time, but
Yeah.
I'm your host, Alexio, and joining me as always is Kid Native Bloody Elbow and Eugene S. Robinson from Aussie.com and author of Fight Everything Everyone Know About Ass Kicking. We're afraid you get your ass kicked for asking.
Right there, baby. You know how hard I had to squeeze Harper Collins to get that board made? Very, very hard.
and you still treasure it today.
I had 5. 5 were made. I absconded with 2. 3 are somewhere out there in the universe.
In the mist.
Like the rings of power.
Yes.
Oh,
that's right. Exactly.
Yeah.
All right.
So, Eugene, speaking of power, you're a WME IMG.
Ah,
In wake of President Donald Trump's Muslim ban, you have multiple fighters on your roster who could have problems entering the U.S. What moves do you make to prevent politics from ruining your matchmaking?
Oh, so simple a child could do it. You press that little button on the little white button on your phone, because I'm sure at WME they're still rocking those old phones, the little lights on the bottom. And when the bald one answers, he probably answers, yes, boss, yes, boss. You go, what the fuck do I pay you for? Get on the phone. Get your friend the Donald in line and get some fucking strings pulled. Get Musasi in this country. I don't want to hear it. And then he shuffles off and he gets on the phone to hey, Don. Well, we got these. Don't worry. He's got a green card. He's fine. He's fine. Well, you don't think it's played that way? You don't think these problems are solved with a flick of a wrist and a phone call? You'd be wrong. This is what we call casino politics, baby. Not a single UFC fighter is going to be slowed down coming through immigration. You have my word. You know why? You know why? Because I put $4.2 billion into one of your casino pals' pockets, and that's the way it works. Now, if it was maybe, Apple, say, who had a banner day. Oh, I so much was looking forward to this show. Look at Kid Nate, he's drinking already. Billions and billions and billions of dollars made up against his Jeremiah saying that Apple's going down the toilet. Yeah, well, whatever.
They've peaked, Mr. Robinson. My advice is to sell promptly.
Eventually, you'll be right. But like I said, not now. So anyway, this is simple. This is not even a kerfuffle. You make a call, one call if you're WME, and it's downstairs to the bald one. So what the hell was that dog and pony show at the convention worth? Get out there, fix this.
What's your take, Nate?
Ari Emanuel, fuck calling Dana White. And Dana White would be all sassy and lippy. He's got his fuck you money. Ari Emanuel's already had his...
No, he doesn't. He's locked in. Why do you think he's still there?
Oh, he's locked in a very brief time, but not a kissing ass brief time. Like he's the surly guy in the office playing, pocket pool or whatever. Like, no, Ari Emanuel, he's got his own Trump contacts, and he calls the man direct. He doesn't bother with Dana White. Fuck Dana White. That's yesteryear. Ari and Rahm have already cozied up to the Trump dynasty. So, but otherwise the strategy is just the same. And whether they have to do it, get somebody some passports from Bahrain or one of the approved Muslim countries or whatever. And all these guys from Dagestan, they're not going to have any fucking trouble getting in. Are you kidding me? Trump's going to stop Russia? Yeah. So, rumor is he got 20% of the Russian oil company. Like, I don't think he should be ashamed of that. I think he should just say, hey, yeah, I made a deal with Putin. He told me he'd give me 20% of the Russian national oil company if I cut sanctions. Hey, smart deal, huh?
No, hey, listen, you know what that's you know what's going to happen? Do you remember the not too distant past, like maybe 9 years ago, when it was almost $6 a gallon to get gas? and Venezuela was rich, and Russia was rich. We haven't seen those prices for 6 years. Wait until those Trump voters get a load of $6 gallon gas again. You know, now they start.
They will.
They start. Well, you know, it was always cheaper in red states, but at this point, you know, so and now that people start buying SUVs and big pickup trucks again. Perfect. Welcome to $6. I could be wrong. I'll be glad if we're wrong. OPEC can't get their act together, but somebody's gonna make some money. If you think this is about anything other than money, you're crazy.
Yeah. Well, the oil prices will jack around when your Apple stock tanks. So just.
Well, one guy whose stock isn't tanking, Nate, you're Conor McGregor.
Fuck the UFC. Fuck the UFC. That's what he said.
Days ago, you claimed the Ali Act prevented the UFC from stopping your fighting Floyd Mayweather in a boxing match, but you're graciously open to working with the IMG-owned company. Quote, it's smoother to do it all together. But look, everyone's just got to know their place, and everyone does know their place, end quote. Mayweather replied, we know I'm A-side. Of course, it shows throughout the years, the many record-breaking numbers we have done, me and my team. We'll just see what the future holds. Let's see what happens, end quote. UFC President Dana White's take, if he wants to go down that road with us, let me tell you, it will be an epic fail, end quote. What's your next best PR move to keep the momentum going?
Keep talking shit. Keep talking to Floyd. Do another press conference, man. I mean, Conor's in the catbird seat. What he's telling them is he's in no hurry to fight. And if they want to fight with him over money, by all means, gentlemen, I've got lawyers and I've got prospects and I've got cash and you've got cash.
I've got money. I've got juice. I went to the party and I got loose.
Exactly. Exactly. So
those guys will never make it.
Yes. Eugene's crystal ball.
So what does your crystal ball tell you about Conor? Eugene?
He's dangerously close to that misty climb where it's not the fight that attracts him, which would be understandable. It's not the cash that attracts him, which in my book is perfectly nice and cool. It is actually the attention that he's a, what is that book by Harry Cruz called The Gypsy's Curse, and he's lifting weights with this Latino cat who screams at him in Spanish what he calls a gypsy's curse, and it's may you find a pussy that fits you. And it's like, no matter, there's a lock and there's a key, and when you stumble on your poison, that is your great undoing. So, he probably thought at one point, Conor McGregor, I'm speaking specifically of, probably thought at one point, man, if I could only get some money. Yeah, dear Lottie, what's £2 to the electric company? If he could only find some money. And then he got the money, and then he was like, well, I got a Hall of Fame shit. I got to fight the fight. Then he got the fights, or maybe he got the fights and then he got the money. And then suddenly there's still that kind of empty, yawning space inside. And he's like, I know what it is. It's the fucking crowds. It's the tumult of the crowds. And
what happened to your Irish accent, man?
Well, no. Have a Kickstarter to pay me not to do one.
Now this is my narrative voice. So now I'm doing a narrative. So at this point, he's in dangerous territory because people, despite what Barbara Streisand says about people who need people, in my experience, people who need people get fucked over pretty badly. And there's not. You give them, is it 50 million, 20 million? What is it that makes a difference? It's not. It's a TV show. Then you're like Tom Cruise, man. You're like this kind of weird half animal, half machine. That here's applause and kind of turns and smiles. Stop it, man.
You're like Jolson, the great Jolson, whose life's tragedy was he was so committed to entertaining people he couldn't commit to a woman. Like on his honeymoon, he climbed out the window while his lady was getting herself ready in her nightgown, and she found him hours later singing and dancing for the guys up all night at the fire hall across the street. Yeah.
So that's what he was doing.
Oh, yeah, actually that was.
Hey man, my favorite story. Do you know that his song "Sonny Boy"?
Of course.
Yes, I'm a huge Jolson fan. So the guys who wrote the song "Sonny Boy,"
you've told Donna Shalala, dude. Yeah. But you
I'm
can
sorry.
tell.
On this show? Oh, what? Sonny Boy did what?
No, you
Oh,
can
so
tell.
Alexi hasn't heard it. That's
No,
funny.
I know it. They were like, I can write the stupidest, most cornball piece of shit that even Jolson will laugh at. And they called him out.
I won't laugh at it. He won't even be able to swallow. He won't be able to do anything with it. And go ahead, finish it.
And then they do. They
Finish
write
my
Sonny
story.
Boy, the most maudlin, stale, recycled thing they could come up with. And call Jolson, read it to him over the phone. He loves it and makes it one of the biggest hits of all time up to that.
No. You fucked up the story.
Yeah. Tell the story.
So he loved the song, and they were like, "Oh, this is gonna be great. He's gonna sing it." And when Jolson performs it for the first time live, the guys who wrote it there, they're getting ready to take the piss out of him. They're laughing, and Jolson sings this song, and everybody is in fucking tears. He rips it up. You don't get that. You don't get that without that pathological desire for that public acclaim and attention, man. And it seems to me that Conor McGee is in that really dangerous place where 5,000 people showed up to hear me talk. You know, look, I'll give you a story you haven't heard before. At one point, some guy comes to me and says, "Hey, you know what? I got this special slide camera." Like, what do we mean special? It's like a Polaroid camera, but for slides. When you guys play, I'll take, like, what good is that going to do? He goes, no. You're playing in a movie theater with a 60-foot high screen. I got a runner who'll snap it. He'll run up to the booth. By the time he gets there, he can project photos from your show. And I go, okay, that's kind of amusing. It's got nothing to do with me. We play the show. I see the runner. And at one point, I look around, and I see me 60 feet high.
In your underwear?
And my underwear. And I look back at the audience, and people are screaming, and I could feel that thing in my head go, bing! As like, this was Mussolini, Hitler. This is what happens. He's right in there.
Yeah.
So anyway, I think that Conor's in a dangerous spot. You know, I mean, it'll have the sum total effect of ginning up this fight big time. Bigly, but the reality of it is, you know, they could have it tomorrow. It's going to be huge no matter what. He doesn't really actually have to do that, but again, he loves it, loves the acclaim, and you know, he's got another attention whore right up there with him, Mayweather tweeting and deleting and tweeting, and then
Dana White can't resist this shit show either.
They're all the same fucking guy. They all have no need for money. They all have no need for athletic competition, but they love the roar of the crowd, man.
Well, one person who seems to have no need for athletic competition, Eugenia Ronda Rousey.
Oh, man.
After losing the PR war through a self-imposed UFC 207 media blackout, you resurfaced on the front lines of the DAPL protests, and in doing so, won over many fans who needed a reminder that you're not a DNB stewing after another loss. Yep. Instead of lingering, you went back to the shadows and resurfaced with an anti-Muslim ban post. Is this the best way to rebuild your brand without rebuilding your MMA skill set?
You know, to answer your question, is this the best way to build your brand? You know, a brand assumes that she wants to stay, right? A brand is something that you have developed.
You don't think she hungers for the roar of the crowd herself?
I don't think she
the roar of the movie audience.
Because when you are where she is right now, it's not always applause that they're roaring. You know, they might be a roaring applause. They might be roaring.
The roar of the masses might be farts.
Yeah, exactly. In this instance, so it's not entirely clear to me that. I mean, of course, you know, it seems easy to say that she was the kind of person that liked it when it was good. Doesn't seem to like it so much when it's bad. You know, some people can't distinguish between the brick bats and the huzzas. But in her case, I think that this is about being a real person and real connecting and reconnecting with real people, you know, to a certain degree, or being that it's WME, it could be careful media recreation for secondary or tertiary acts that will involve talk shows, game shows, spokesperson shows, you know, TV commercials.
Running for Congress.
Yeah, I was going to scoff at you, but for about half a second before I realized you could be totally right. Mm-hmm. So I'm unsure of what it is or what it's going to be, but I can tell you it's a good move on her part. If it's strategic and contrived, still a good move. If it's something that she's really doing because she's driven by belief, Travis Bickle said it best. I believe a person should be a person like normal people instead of involved in morbid self-attentions. So get out of the house. Nobody at that place gives a crap. It's like, oh, great. It's like Ronda Rousey. I'm getting sprayed with a fucking water hose. I got to get back to business. So I think it's a good place to be. And if our Democratic Congress people are not going to be out there, I'll take Honda. Why not? Somebody's got to be out there repping the people, and it certainly won't be me out with against the frozen hoses.
What's your take, Nate?
This could practically be my heel turn over here. For if he hadn't thrown in one caveat about it being contrived, I was about to accuse Oprah over here of just falling hook, line, and sinker for the liberal, heroic Ronda swan song and just gulping it down. I mean,
I'm cynical enough to, I don't believe it.
Yeah, you barely remembered just to cover yourself because you were way out on the limb. I mean, way out on the limb. I think it's a brilliant move on her part. I think it's irrelevant whether it's contrived or real. It's an interesting angle, especially with her boss being Mr. Trump and everything. I think she's always been counter-programming for MMA. I mean, she's had a distinct audience. There's a Ronda Rousey crowd that follows her that doesn't give two shits about MMA. And so I think it's great for that crowd and her branding. And it also, I think, explains why so many other MMA fans hate her so much and have enjoyed the turn, because she always was different and outsiders. And they liked, all the hot chicks coming to the shows, but they didn't necessarily, Trump, et cetera, et cetera. What are you going to do? No.
Well, speaking of what you're going to do, Nate, your Atlantic Records. Your rapper Kodak Black is facing sexual assault charges from a woman who claims he assaulted her in a hotel room. While that case is pending, he posted a Facebook Live video of himself and his homies running a train on a different woman in a different hotel room. Do you have a different PR plan?
You just got to let Kodak be Kodak, man. I mean, God damn, I'm glad I'm not in the Kodak Black business. But, the classic hip-hop PR strategy has been, let's milk this cat for as much product as we can before he goes to jail. Like Tupac, somebody who could freestyle like that, get him in basically a cell, like get him in a tiny little booth in a studio, give him a beat and let him go. They got how many CDs worth of Tupac out of that? And then it was like when Elvis went to Germany and Colonel Tom Parker recorded as much shit as he could and then deliberately squeezed the record company with as little product as he could for as long as he could. That's what you would do normally. But with Kodak's stammering, yammering, dumbass self, I don't honestly know if you put him in a cube for 30, I can't imagine he's the most efficient producer of content out there. I mean, you might get him rapping for 36 hours straight, but it might be the same 8 rhymes and syllables and slurs.
Yeah,
yeah, I mean, I think his fans would eat it up, but that's the traditional play, and I don't see any reason to stray from the playbook. That and wish him the best on his way to prison and keep making money off his ass. That's what you do.
What's your take, Eugene?
You know what? I start to think about professional athletes, and then I think about guys like Evander Holyfield, who I interviewed in his mansion when he had it, and I think of that line from that hip hop song: "I watch him come, I watch him go, I watch him go bust after they lost their dough." And these guys, man, it's like, you need to look around you. Not everybody's a Little Wayne, and Little Wayne is almost not a Little Wayne, with all this freaking cough syrup. I mean, when I see, I tell you, I feel the same way when I see Conor McGregor. When I see him buying multiple Rolls Royces, I was like, I've seen this movie before, man. I've seen it before. I've been in Evander Holyfield's garage with the multiple, what's that Rolls Royce called? The Shadow something, what, 7 of these things lined up. Nobody needs 7 cars. I don't, I got 2. And I got to share one. So I mean, it's the monkey show here is the monkey shines, or the hotel, and the sex assault is probably a serious issue, and the guy, but the reality of it is, 5 years from now, somebody's going to be rich. It's not going to be dude, you know. So it's like the same kind of the way the people's hearts were going out to these college athletes who are successively milked by their universities, ground up by the NFL or the NBA, and then spit out. Or like that guy Donna Shalala, that guy who I had mow my lawn for $20, who used to play in the NBA and is now kind of just bumping around East Palo Alto, mowing people's lawns for $20. Yeah. I mean, this system is fucking unkind, man. And dude should realize that sooner rather than later. But the guys who are closest to him who are getting paid will not tell him, you know, will not tell him.
But if you're the record company, do you try to milk him for the 2-pack play?
You know what? Record companies do that quite well.
Yes,
that's what they do. It's like, if I put my hand in the shark's cage, well, the record company should do what they do. They can be reliably counted on to do what's best for them. If you're paying attention, you can have something happen for yourself that's good. You know, you could be. I don't see Axl Rose suffering, but you know, the guy who's a dude, Stephen Piercy from Radar, was one of the guys who was putting up billboards.
Oh yeah.
And somebody broke my heart. You know, some cat was. I don't know if he wants me to mention his name. Was emailing me. I think Nate, you may have seen this about Tom Byron. Tom Byron was one of the most prolific male porn stars of the 80s through the 90s.
He of the leathery nutsack.
Yeah, well, I don't know what you're talking about with that, man.
I was once in a band that
you were looking at one thing, I was looking at another thing.
I was looking at something else. He's driving Uber now, man, and they're asking him about it, and he was like, "Hey, it is what it is. Got to eat." Peter North, however, has one Rolls Royce and a mansion, and is doing quite well. Other dude, you know. You got, you know, John Stagliano was telling me, yeah, the only person I write bigger checks to than Jules Jordan. Who? Come on, Nate.
Rocco?
Yes. You know, and that guy was squandering his money like crazy, but he lived in Italy. He bought something and could just kind of float off of that. I mean, if you were ever, people are like, oh, Eugene, you know, what would you first thing you do if you hit it big and you made it rich? Get a smaller house, a cheaper car, and a bigger safe. That's it.
Freak me out in those record industry contracts.
Yep.
Life insurance clauses, especially those rapper contracts.
Some guys
we will take out a life insurance policy on you, which we will fully collect upon your untimely death.
And you have to be careful. Some guy was telling me, you know, the guys who work on, you know, the utility workers, cats, their insurance policies were systematically written so that they were covered for electrocution, right? Because these guys get electrocuted all the time, but they weren't covered for accidental falls. So
what killed him? The zap or the splat?
Exactly. So half those guys pop out of the cherry picker. They hit the ground. The insurance company does not pay out the family because the dude died from the fall. He didn't die from the electricity. It's like, these guys are scandalous. They will rob you every chance they get. So, you know, Kodak Black, I'm hoping you're enjoying this double teaming, gang banging stuff now, because that's all you're going to have in short order.
You don't think he'll run into any trains in prison?
Oh, he will. On the business end of one. But, you know, I mean, let whatever happen to Mystical.
Sheesh. Master
P's doing okay. Mystical, as far as I know, is still in the joint. So, and I'm not saying he doesn't deserve to be there, but there's a key to the key is not making money. The key is keeping the money.
Yes.
So you got keeping the money or not. Eugene, your former Attorney General, Sally Yates, according to NBC News, you, quote, advised the Justice Department not to enforce Trump's executive order barring certain refugees and people from 7 Muslim-majority countries from entering the United States, end quote. The White House replied by firing you and issuing a statement, quote, Ms. Yates is an Obama administration appointee who is weak on borders and very weak on illegal immigration, end quote. What's your best PR move to maximize your newfound celebrity?
Yeah, well, I love the fact that she made that move. She had to. It's like, you know, that was like such a wonderful gimme. If I were her, I'd be sitting around going, she whatever she wants to do now. Commentary, she could, you know, HuffPo editor at large, whatever she wants to do. she could probably do even in a Trump America. Yeah, for sure. It was a genius move. A week ago, nobody knew who she was. You know, were you paying attention? Did you know? You know, she's pretty photogenic. I hadn't seen her before. They had no idea who the hell she was, and now we all know. I say the world's her oyster. She could even with you know the Trump administration, which nobody knows how long that's going to last.
What's your take, Nate?
Well, I think, yeah, like Eugene said, for her, it was the right thing to do. Brilliant PR. She's a made name now. Book, the circuit, the whole bit. But this is a classic Chinese stratagem: beat the bushes to make the snakes stick their heads up, and that's what Bannon is doing with this shit. Is he's challenging the system to see which judges are going to speak up. Is DHS going to enforce his bullshit? Is, you know, who's he got to fire at ICE? You know, who in the Justice Department is on board, and, you know, get him popping up, get him out of the way. You know, firing 90 people from the State Department in one go. Whoo, boys playing serious. And this was a classic way to bait people out. And this is a tad off topic, but his use of his mastery of the modern information cycle, which has nothing to do with the old news cycle. In the old days, you dumped something on Friday afternoon because the reporters were already drunk and on their way home to Long Island by the time you dropped it. Now, everybody's sitting around Friday night getting ready to go out or staying home with the kids or whatever they're doing, and their phones light up with, holy shit, what? You know, and they can sit at home and watch the protests on Twitter, maybe go down to the airport themselves if they're looking for something to do. Gets everybody yammering about it, you know, has all this official action going on, news breaking all weekend. It's an amazing way to dominate people's psyches. I don't know if it'll work out for him or not, but dude is playing. It's like a real classic brawler in MMA. He is coming out swinging for the fences and just in your face, grabbing territory, taking the initiative. It's terrifying and amazing.
Well, let's continue on that. Nate, your ESPN, after your anchor Sage Steele enraged Twitter by complaining about Muslim ban protesters, quote, disrupting so many people's travel plans, end quote. She made matters worse by caustically clarifying her comments and engaging in back and forth beef tweets. How do you prevent your channel from being caught in the crossfire?
You know, you can downplay her or play her up. I don't think ESPN viewers give a shit that much, for one thing. They've had some announcers get away with some egregious bullshit, and their demo, I don't think, gives two fucks. I think they're mostly on her side on this. So ESPN has bigger problems. I mean, she's imminently replaceable. So if this is any sign of hassle, shoo her along her merry little way. But if she's good for ratings, she rides this out just fine. This isn't going to take her down or take them down. This is, nah. You just mosey right along there.
What's your take?
I as much as it pains me to say this, I agree with Nate 100%.
No,
except I would add a proviso, and I said, look, anytime you want to raise a discussion like this that has at the heart of it a sports fan, realize that a goodly portion of those sports fans are complete and total gambling degenerates. You know, sports are just a convenient vehicle for them to exercise this gambling degeneracy. I've seen people gamble, kick over a bucket of water and gamble on which rivulet will hit the crack first. I've seen this with my own eyes. I mean, the people who are into gambling, they'll take action wherever they could get it. So she could shoot the guy sitting next to her, and they'd be like, yeah, okay, Villanova. What is the spread on the Villanova game? No, seriously. So if you forget
call my bookie.
Yeah, exactly right. If you forget for half a second that like 65, 71 percentage, I mean, I'm too cheap, Reed broke, to be that gambler, and I'm not good enough with numbers to be able to make any headway there. But we did a piece at Ozzy, one of my writers did it. I signed on the world's #1 handicapper. This guy is a fucking animal. This guy is like Albert Einstein. Of course, he lives and works in Vegas. The guy doesn't know a sit-up from a push-up, from a no, I can't have another piece of marble cake. but he's got a head for fucking numbers, and he's racking it up, doing spreads, parlays, and parlays in the spreads stuff. I'm just making it up. I don't even know what it is, but he, you know, they don't care. You entered a land mysterious.
Well, speaking of land mysterious, Eugene, you're CEO of a Fortune 100 company. The New York Times reported that many of your colleagues are tepidly crafting domestic and moral PR policies in wake of the Trump administration's Muslim ban. The challenge? Balancing consumer demand for a strong public stance while avoiding Trump's stock-lowering Twitter feed. Since we know who he is your best course would be to tread lightly?
Yeah, I like that. I like that. No, you know what? Let me. Somebody said something today that I thought, I can't remember who it was. It could have been something Nate put up. I don't remember. But somebody said, listen, you know, these little pieces of paper that the Donald is signing, you do realize that they only have conditional weight of law, right? Like, they're not, like, if Donald tomorrow signs a piece of paper that says everybody has to wear their underwear on the outside of their pants. Yeah, you know,
We'd be Superman.
You know, it's conditional. They have to be legal challenges, and fundamentally, the three branches of government. You're a lawyer. You should notice the three branches of government have to somewhat work together before we're calling something a law. So at this point now, I mean, you know, much like I've said before, when any kind of catastrophe. I used it on Knuckle Up, where I won't get Donna Shalala, but the story of the triple date that I went on, triple date, double blind date, where two of the other men on the date got beaten up by the police and arrested because they broke into the police paddy wagon. And I'm trying to alert them to the fact that multiple police cars are driving down the wrong way street and heading for them, and they're not hearing me, and I just stopped walking. Your best
tread lightly. Stop walking.
Yeah, exactly. If you're one of those companies, you don't. It's got just, hey, what are you doing? I'm just hanging out over here, just looking at things, you know. Because this, if you think it's going to be this way 4 years from now, you're wrong. Or 3 years from now, you're wrong. Or 2 years from now, or 6. This is like Nate just said. This is quicksilver, you know. And when some guy comes out punching like they're coming out punching, they either win, and even that's temporary, or they punch themselves out. And this is a big system, you know. Go back to who weighs more than Russia. These guys don't weigh more than the U.S., you know. But the U.S. moves slow.
But they've seized the apparatus of the U.S. and have the support of about 40% of the U.S.
Yeah. And in 10 days, they go to 52% disapproval rating. I mean, you know, if you don't, it doesn't matter to the guys who voted.
These are the polls that told us Clinton was going to win.
Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter about the people who voted for him. It matters the people that he's got to work with, the other branches of government. Paul Ryan doesn't play along. What do you got? You have a razor thin. Oh, don't give me that, man. You got a razor thin margin. What do you have? If they,
I thought you were gonna whisper under your voice, "Fucking wasting my time."
No, if they can convince 3 people to go their way, or whatever, the Democrats settle into just being the opposition party. Hey, you know what? You want to fuck up with China? You want to fight over the fucking?
Now that's where it gets more interesting.
Well, we're gonna get to that. Just hold on.
Eugene's wandered off topic.
So going ahead. So Nate, what do you do if you're the CEO of the Fortune 100 company?
Well, I mean, I think there's what you communicate to your different audiences. Like, what do you tell your employees? What do you tell? Who are your employees? What side of the line do you think they're on? You know, your shareholders, your audience. If you're a public-facing company, your customers. So you gotta walk that carefully. If you're some super urban liberal brand, you need to jump on Team Blue and rah, man. I mean, your customers are not buying, you know, your customers are all on one side of that. That's a no-brainer, you know.
Yep.
If you're a red state, mainstay, if you're Duck Dynasty or whatever, you know, if you're advertising on Duck Dynasty, on board with Team Trump. I mean, you know, anything short of hiring Richard Spencer as your, you know, company icon is probably okay, you know. So short of, I didn't say do that, but you know, that's
know your audience.
Yes.
So
Who paying the bills? Who paying the bills?
Speaking about paying the bills,
like I learned the hard way, and I'm not even going to repeat it because we know you. I know you know that story.
I see. Well,
We just call it. It just gets filed under the general rubric of foolish moments where Eugene should have just taken the money and shut up. It's a big file, like that big giant.
And that's what made you the bitter, cynical man you are today.
Man, I'm not bitter.
No.
Well, actually, I am.
Well, Nate, you're a prime minister of a G20 country. In wake of reports that U.S. President Donald Trump's disastrous Muslim ban was intentionally induced chaos, what moves do you make to counterbalance what many consider to be U.S. propaganda for ISIS recruitment?
I mean, it depends which G20 country you are. But, if you're Putin, well, that 20% of Russian oil company investment seems to be going pretty well for you. I mean, these guys are kicking ass and taking names and grabbing power and handing out money and taking money, and looks good for business. If you're Italy, you're fucking hapless anyway, and there's refugees landing on your shore from the shit Obama did. You're just bracing for whatever's coming next. You might be 3 or 4 countries down the line to fall out of the EU. It's, you take what comes. If you're England, do you try to jump on board Team Trump? That's the big question. That seems to be what Theresa May is doing.
Outside those protests all over England.
Well, I mean, they might lose Scotland pretty quick, but they're not going to lose to the Labour Party anytime soon. So, so there's different interests for different countries, If you're Turkey, you thank him kindly for not putting you on the list, despite the fact you're fucking rife with terrorists of all stripes, from outright ISIS jihadis to Al Qaeda, what we call old school jihadis, to Shia, to Kurdish.
Oh, jeez.
I mean, you got all kinds of political craziness coming out of Turkey. I mean, all the countries he didn't ban, Egypt, Saudi Arabia, it's like, this has nothing to fuck all to do with terrorism, and it's just like kicking on the same poor little 7 shitbag countries that don't have anything we want. We've been kicking on anyway. I mean, did you notice the first people Trump had killed in his first commando raid murder was the 8-year-old daughter of the dude that Obama already killed with the drone strike, and had his 16-year-old son killed too. It's like there's almost no change in the policy. There's been a lot of shit talk, but on the war on Islam front, yeah, it's proceeding apace. But so yeah, if you're a G20 country, it depends which G20 country you are.
What's your take, Eugene?
It's interesting. It seems to me that this is one of those moments where it's like you got a divining rod. What is that great? Who was it who said it? Was Voltaire, right? His famous last words are he's on his deathbed and the priest comes and says, hey, you want to maybe you want to renounce Satan, and Voltaire kind of looks up from the bed. Look, now he goes, now's not the time to be making new enemies. and I think largely, if you're with the G20 nations, you're doing this. Take the finger, put the finger in your mouth. You hold that finger up in the air, and you don't need a weatherman to know which way that wind is blowing. I just, like the old man in Catch-22.
If you're Japan, you get nukes. Go ahead.
Yeah. I'm a survivalist, man, and you need to. I mean, if there's one lesson that you had learned, could have learned, from World War II, where'd the smart money go in World War II? I mean, was Finland better off than Hungary? I think most Finns would say that they were probably better off than most Hungarians. Was Hungary?
But they were both nominally allies of Hitler during World War II.
Yeah, and then Finns had to battle back against the Soviets almost immediately. But the Finns were largely hoping the Eugene Robinson ethos of just not being noticed. Yeah, you invade. We got nothing here but fish. Leave us okay. We'll give you 1 or 2 Jews, and be led by the business. The idea is to survive somehow, some way. And when you got the biggest 800-pound gorilla in the world, the U.S., doing really, really stupid shit, you gotta, who was that guy who did that cartoon where he prefigured World War I as a bar fight? And my favorite part is like Belgium just kind of sitting around and suddenly gets punched in the face. Like, what the hell? How'd that happen? So every country was represented by a person in the bar fight, and they kind of just did it like a bar fight. And this is one of those things where get your booth in the corner, sit down, and wait for this thing to fucking blow over. Because I don't think, even the gotten gains, or somebody was talking about the like the $1 trillion that Vladimir Putin has access to. He says he doesn't keep it in true mafia style. I'm very poor. I've got my salary, but he's got access to free floating national banks that have tons of money in all these different countries that he could be called up. He could call up his marker at any second. So I mean, you got big bad things happening. If you're going to be smart, I don't say you go the way of Norway in World War II and do a Quisling, or Vichy, wait until you're invaded and then kind of play along. I think Switzerland seems like it'd be a good bet. And they were collaborators too, but they were the best kind of collaborators. Like, you know what? I got an idea. We'll hold your cash.
Well, and also Finland and Switzerland have the virtue of not being between Germany and anything, and Switzerland's basically impassable. So, and they have a well-earned reputation for being tough as fuck. They're the people who ended the reign of the knight in shining armor. Just
with those knives they have with the little toothpicks in them. They jab and they jab. People in Switzerland actually believe that their mountain redoubt, that they were so tough and mighty that's why the Nazis didn't invade.
They mostly weren't in the way of anything, but they have enormous advantages in those mountains. And it's been a long time since they got in a throwdown, but back in the day, man, those are some tall fucking mountains, and mountain people are always the toughest people. So,
and they were the first ones to come up with putting J's on passports. Not J's for John either.
Yeah. They played ball when And they wrote the whole thing out. Franco did very similar things. He was on Team Hitler when Hitler was giving him bombs and stuff. But then, I'll just wait on that invading France thing. But
he provided a convenient avenue for escape when Hitler was on his way to fucking Argentina.
Speaking of being on the way and rides.
Thank you.
Eugene, this is Teacher Wilmot. You're a technology transportation company. The taxi drivers.
Sorry.
It's here. The taxi drivers union is striking and refuses to take anyone to or from your local airport because of President Trump's Muslim travel ban. Your industry rivals Uber and Lyft have taken different approaches to an unprecedented opportunity. Do you build your brand by being a scab?
It's not working well for them, man. It's that you got to understand that people have had it out. If you've been paying attention at all to the whole Uber thing, people have had it out for them for a long time. You might Donna Shalala me. At one point I met the cat who started Lululemon, right? And I didn't know who he was before I met him. I just met him, right? I'm talking to the guy, and pretty affable guy, Alexi, he tried to give me the soul brother handshake, he's doing all this crap.
Was he a brother?
No, he's not,
So
I just kind of take my hand and I just shake him, but I'm
there. You started doing the robot.
Yeah, right. And he just, and the dismissive thought in my mind as I walked away was like, frat guy. And the guy and then of course that was their great undoing. He's like, well, hey man, our pants are not for everybody. You're out of shape. You can't wear our standards. Like Bob Bing. People are already paying $200 a pair for these things. You're going to insult people for being a little weighty, wearing these things to lose that weight. You blew it. So the guy from Uber has been very, very a similar sort of cat, like the cat that if you saw him walking through the Mission in San Francisco, you'd want to throw something at him, but it's a service. It's convenient. They got the nice shirts. They got a hipster thing happening, and you know, but they just keep reverting the type, man. And they say now they're backing off, and much to my great delight, Lyft was on it like fucking cold on ice, like ugly on an ape. They were like $1 million today to some there, and they were giving this position thing. I got the email today about how to support the people. Attica. I was like, yeah, it's you know. What is that thing?
Because they understand who their customers are. That's the whole thing.
Exactly right.
Uber's customers are not Trump people. I don't know what they were thinking. Because they're foreigners. That's part of it.
Yep. And the reality of it is, you know, the taxis, the delivery companies in New York, the tax commission, they've been looking for a way to give it to these guys, and they've seen the bottom drop out the business, and are looking at major reductions. And a lot of those cats, the guys, the last 3 times I had drivers from Nigeria. They were driving me into the city, using a yellow cab, and this was, you know, I don't know. I don't know. It blows my mind how badly they blew it. And they're now trying to regain, but they're a convenient locus at this point, because we have a riot on our hands. Like Dave Chappelle said, when you got white people rioting in Portland, you got a serious situation happening, right? You know, it is a very serious situation. And when you got the nice handy dandy hashtag, you know, hashtag delete Uber, and you've got a ritual that goes with it, where you go to the page, you take a picture of the page, you send it to them with the hashtag, you're done. I mean, not done. The company's not going away, but you know, the battle lines have been drawn, and you lost this fucking battle beyond a shadow of a doubt.
Yep. What he said.
All right. Well,
as much as it pains him to say so.
Yeah, hardly. I steal your ideas just like anybody else's.
He just wants to get to his heel turn. He's like, whatever. Eugene could have been like, yeah, kill Nate, take all his stuff. Yeah. What did you say?
What he said. Because this one, like, I don't quite know how to frame it, but so Deadspin's reporting that Baylor football under the Ken Starr regime, when he was chancellor or curator or whatever he was at Baylor University, 52 rapes on campus in 4 years under Coach Art Briles. All right. Yep. And now, but I mean, and this is heinous shit. Like,
if 52 players had been raped, it'd be a big deal.
Well, now it depends what time of the season was, whether they were starters or not, et cetera, et cetera. I'll get to the biggest outrage of this, because there's one outrage in this that's just completely takes the whole context out of the story. But this shit is so fucked up. They're apparently on the record, according to Deadspin, you know, a former Gawker property, but Peter Thiel hasn't crushed this one out of existence. Univision's keeping them going. So they were doing, I mean, it's like a 1970s X-rated Robbie Benson movie. Like, do you remember Robbie Benson, Eugene?
Yeah, I hated Robbie Benson.
Of course he did. He died in every movie, and there was a movie where it was the little white guy in a basketball team, then the little white guy who worked hard and became the track star, and like had this formula. But like when he was on the basketball team, they like gave him a do-nothing job where he'd sit there and watch the water hoses turn on and off, and you know, like it was like that, except with a rape-orama. It was like there would be some little fat coach that'd be like, "You like white girls?" And then they had like the angels or the bears, I think they called them, that would be these young girls that they recruit basically and pressure to fuck the players. And in this case, apparently they didn't, the consent was like immaterial. I don't know if they furnished the date rape drugs or what, but you know, 52 rapes in 4 years. I don't know amongst how many football players, but does that, you know, but the outrage here is Deadspin at no point mentions Art Briles' won-loss record or bowl games. Okay? So
at no point.
This, like every booster at Baylor now looks like an asshole. And because nobody's hearing their side of the story, which is, did you see the parties in my luxury box as we won 28 games in 2 seasons or whatever it was? I mean, you know, things have a price, son. That's the outrage. I'm being sarcastic, of course, but this is just fucking unbelievable. Well, I mean, it would be if it wasn't so typical, but I mean, this was off the chain, rampant. Barry Switzer would blush at this, I got to say. So that's the
man.
He'll turn.
I would really. I mean, sure, most people know about it through the Steve Albini band, Rape Man, but I would. There was a Japanese manga character who would. It was a superhero, and he would exact revenge on villains by raping them. And so
a very popular comic book title as well. This was like a mainstream comic character.
Yeah. And it's times like this where I was like, man, where's Rape Man when you need him? You know, every single guy on that team who committed an act of rape would subsequently be savagely raped repeatedly. You know, I mean, at this point, I mean, it's a heel turn, so you're not calling on me for a response, but I would like, I mean, whatever they did to Jopa that caused him to want to die. At this point now, I'd say huge financial fucking penalties against this
for the Baylor people. I mean, Jesus Christ.
In my mind, the university should cease existing.
Yeah, but Penn State's still out there rocking and rolling, man. I mean, you know, if you Google, what's his name, Jerry Sandusky, one of the top things, they might have changed this with the fake news scare, but at one point, like, a top result for Sandusky was the local lawyer who runs the big conspiracy theory Sandusky was innocent site.
Yeah.
Like,
Sandusky was innocent. Let him babysit your son.
Yeah. Well, you know, I mean, if we didn't need him coaching that linebacker squad.
Yeah.
You know.
Sound effects by list.
Man, you know, I'm glad at least the listeners are knuckle up. They get it right away, and they tweet me shit that when you hear, you go. It's like when your Sarian hears what Catch-22 is for the first time and exhales this deep, respectful, you know, exhalation of air. And I'm kind of the same way. I don't know if you heard the Chris Weidman quote from this week. Oh. Did you hear it?
Only you are following Chris Weidman at this point.
No, people.
Chris Weidman's Twitter, 1 follower.
People are tweeting me. He was on the record. I'm sure I'm paraphrasing. I don't remember the exact thing, but he goes, "Hey, now the real me is gonna come out. The real me, you see, the real me is back."
Oh man.
Period. Close quote. Yeah. You people are confused about what gets you in the Lost Battalion, what puts you in the Lost Battalion. It is at this point where you have 5-star General Chris Weidman saying stuff like that, where you instantaneously know that's it, baby. It's like, have you ever looked at a cow and wondered whether it was a cow or not? No. You know, 5-star General of the Lost Battalion only says stuff like that. Only says stuff like that. Are you kidding me? Are you fucking kidding me? And then who is the other cat? I'm gonna put because you know that's well-trod ground. I'm gonna put a whole team there. I put a certain section of the fan base. Sorry, New Mexico, but Jackson Wink is in the fucking Lost Battalion. Yeah, in my mind. You know, people go, "Oh, Eugene, oh, you crazy." Oh, let's go down the list. Okay, let's go down the list of people that they've been hustling off the Buffalo, pushing out there that shouldn't have been out there. You know, did you see? When was the last time you saw Greg Jackson in the corner of somebody winning?
Man,
yeah.
Flashback show.
Johnny Boney Joni is doing whatever he's doing then.
The way Greg inspired Johnny Boney Joni to clean up his life and everything, like, that's really inspiring, isn't it?
Waterfalls.
Yeah. I don't want to get racist, but a white guy from Albuquerque, eyes on him.
No, I mean, look, you know, the purportedly the winningest MMA team has been a AKA. Somebody worked the numbers, came out with the fact that
somebody at AKA worked the numbers. Dodged him a little more.
Probably, you know, people still talk about, you know, Jackson Wink and these hushed tones, and other coaches are doing bring your breathing down. It's like, man, I was in professional malpractice for running fucking Donald Cerrone back out there the second round. Is that the way it works?
Yeah.
Is that George Masvidal was almost in tears would meet the guy's grandmother because he could see the dude is on what Muhammad Ali used to call the near room, or what Tank Abbott called cleverly Queer Street. The dude was not right. You know?
I got a big moment for Alexi. Somebody asked in the comments, "What's the host name?" and one of our viewers knew.
Oh, hey! I thought it was somebody who's gonna get sexy with Alexi.
Oh, sexy for Alexi. Get sexy.
That's I've been waiting. You know how long I've been waiting.
They're calling me the heel now. Yeah. Anyway, go ahead.
So no, that's it. That's it. Chris Weidman has reasserted his position as a 5-star general in saying stuff like, and then there's a guy who takes the exit. Like I remember with the SEALs, they have the bell, the bell ringer. Like anytime you're tired, you don't want to do it, don't stay. Go ring that bell. You can leave. That is Johnny Hendricks. People have talked about Johnny Hendricks as being in Lost Dan. He rang the bell. His quote this week was like, "I had my time. My time was then. It's okay. Nobody stays on top forever." Realization of exactly where he is in space. He's out. But Weidman reasserts his position as a 5-star general, and I'm going to shovel along Jackson Wink until they got fighters there who can start to win.
Do you think they intentionally had Amanda Nunes go into that octagon knowing that she was going to bungle post-fight smack talk? It was
it wasn't. Yeah, I saw you, right? I'm easier on Amanda Nunes, and it's like, hey, you know how I know? Because if I'd ever gotten that fight, that jungle fight that Fabiana Iha wanted me to fight down at the Amazonas in Manaus,
the legendary $500.
For the legendary $500, I guarantee you that my remarks in Portuguese would have been pathetic. I would have ended up saying,
putting her down. I'm saying the fact that that they should not have put her in that situation. I mean, she's never shown that she, is somebody who.
Man. If you don't do that, then you get somebody like T. Wood who's complaining about not being treated well, and somebody else.
She only has 2 fights left before she retires, man. She don't care.
And has babies, yeah. Well, I mean, I thought it was all right. I thought it was cute. It played well. It let me see how much bigger she is. I got some of my comments just thinking I'm stupid that I'm sleeping on Valentina. But it gave me a better sense. I've not made a definitive pick in the fight yet, but I thought it did what it was supposed to do. And you can't. It's like when they got women in the military in a serious way for combat roles. You can't. I'm not expecting what is she going to go in and give Valentina the finger. It's not in her character. There's some who can pull it off. Joanna Jędrzejczyk seems generally peaked when she's in there and doing what she's doing. It doesn't seem like an act, which is what they say, if you can fake it, you got it made. Sincerity is everything. But I thought that was a decent moment.
I got to jump in to the Lost Battalion time because he jumped into the heel turn time. What do we think? What do we think of Dana White declaring Ronda Rousey done? Now, there's the bell ringing when you Johnny Hendricks the bell yourself. But Dana White likes to get out there and be like, George St. Pierre's ringing the bell. And George St. Pierre, no, I'm not, and Dana's over there, ding, 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 you're done. He just declared Ronda done. Does this have anything to do with her left-wing protest activity?
It could be, but Dana's also, he's a deli shop owner, He's got, I got that day-old pastrami. Marbled pastrami, or special lady products, anything that you can do to get people in. People, is it part of the continuing narrative about the Ronda drama? I mean, the reality of it is the Ronda drama only exists for that one lunatic surface reflection who's always, anytime we mention Ronda, it's like, you guys, my angel baby. It was probably Travis Brown. Right in the name of surface reflection. And
Travis Brown's sexing with other girls, man. I guarantee it.
Oh.
I guarantee you, man. I guarantee you.
Man.
He's got a long list of DNBs.
You know what? I'm staying away. I'm staying away. Yeah, put dude on Front Street on ill-founded rumors.
I mean, I'm not saying that. I'm just, that's pure speculation. I have no inside information on who Travis Brown is sexing with.
I'm going to give you a yellow card for that, man. I'm going to give you a yellow card.
A yellow card for that. You let me make the Baylor rape joke at great length, but you just yellow card me for the Travis Brown.
Yeah, because, dude does it. Now, somebody's going to say something to somebody, and he comes home from fucking training, and she's looking at him, and he doesn't even know why. Huh. So
we experience there?
Yeah, obviously.
And the other one I didn't throw out there, but we got to cover Rampage Jackson's management allegedly buying his house with his money in their name and taking said house back when their relationship was terminated. Now, this is the oldest management trick in the book. This is what Alan Klein did to the Rolling Stones, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But what the fuck is that?
Do you remember Star Search? Do you remember Star Search?
Of course.
Okay, and one of the first big winners was a rockabilly band called the Kingpins, and the Kingpins were from around here, San Jose. I'm friends with some of the guys who were in the Kingpins, and their manager was a guy who I was also friends with as well. And the grand prize if you won Star Search was $1 million. Right. And these guys had it all. They had the looks. They were like, if the Specials had met the Stray Cats, for any people who were going to pay attention, it was multiple good looks, handsome guys, pompadours, sort of punky stuff, great songs, great voices. The manager said, look, it's just better. I'll buy the house, and bought himself a freaking house. And then months after, like really within 12 months after winning, I'm in Tower Records when Tower Records still existed. And I see the dude who was the face, who could have broken off for a solo career. He's there working behind the counter. I'm at a party a few weeks later or something. I run into the guy, the manager, who tells me he bought a house with the money. You just can't, man. You can't. That's one of the things I like most about Mayweather, even though I suspect that it could be a Potemkin village. It's like you can't trust. I wouldn't trust people with $20, much less 20 million or $1 million. God, how could Rampage do that? How reckless. This is money from the movies. This is money from the fights. Were you going to go back to Texas and what? Come on, man. Come on.
I mean, if there's ever a time to get the sign off from Star Search to be put in here, I would have done it. But thank you for joining us. Follow us
once
Twitter.
Again, February 10th, if you're in San Francisco, text me. You get into the Sex with Eugene event at the chapel in the Mission for free. Text me, you're in. You got to pass the quiz, though. And you got to figure out what the number is, because I'm not giving it out again.
Damn.
There's a degree of difficulty.
Oh, surly. Follow us on Twitter, Eugene S. Robinson, a kid.
That's what the S is for, buddy. Surly.
Oh, an A. Please give us a thumbs up. Speaking of which,
ding, 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 ding.
Earn that S, baby. Leave comments on YouTube. Subscribe to MMA Nation on YouTube. MMA Nation on iTunes. Visit Bloody Elbow, read Eugene at Ozzy.com, and be sure to check out all three of us on Amazon.com. We'll be back next week for another edition of If I Did It. And we don't know what we're going to be talking about yet, although we probably do. It'll be some Trump stuff and some MMA stuff. Because of PR mistakes.
It's a blank slate. We have no idea.
Yeah. Because of PR mistakes have yet to be made.